So, as you all know, I had a meltdown yesterday, and today I'm a little better, actually, a lot better. And I feel that sometimes in healing, you need to talk about it and really lean on your friends to help you through certain things. Today, I had a lot of you who reside here in Edmonton that I've called friends or in amongst my close circle actually reach out to me and ask me if I was okay or come and visit. And, you know, sometimes that's all it takes. And that is what I wanted for this group is for us to be a very close-knit community and almost family-like, because even though you're related to what they say blood is thicker than water, well, sometimes blood doesn't have to be thicker than water to be family. And family is what you make of it. Yeah, you're related to mom and dad. Yeah, you're related to Uncle Who's It. But sometimes even friends can become family. And to me, when I call you my friend, don't take it with a grain of salt. Because to me, being my friend also means being my family. When I show you a certain side to me, very few ever see it. When I show you how to help me get through a meltdown, or if I should have a meltdown, how to deal with it, that's because you're a close friend. That's because I value you as a friend, if not more than. If I tell you something in confidence, it's because I trust you. Because what you know about me, very few know. If I call you my bestie, you better believe that you're just one lower than my husband. If I call you my brother, I don't expect you to come to family reunions or to Christmas. But if I should have Christmas at home, I expect you to come and see me. Because I make a mean goddamn ham. Or turkey. And yes, I know how to cook, and so does my husband. Some of you might know me as the interesting Tara that will tell jokes that are kind of straight out of left field. A lot of my videos are not planned. As a matter of fact, none of them are. Because I find that if you plan things, plans kind of fall through, and quite often what you think of in your head as practice run for whatever you're going to do, that's not really the reality, such as sometimes some autistics do. And so today I am going to talk about my feelings on a personal perspective now that I'm done going through the major issues on what happened or transpired. And I'm going to try and convey something that is very personal, and no, it will not throw me into a meltdown. As a matter of fact, this is how I heal. So bear with me, because I trust my community. I trust you. You guys always seem to video chat with me, some of you, and tell me some very personal details about your lives. Something that I really don't do much here. As a matter of fact, that side of me, very few know. What you guys saw in that picture, only those that I consider in my close circle see it. And that to me is a very vulnerable, tumultuous time in my life when I have to be in that position. That's a side of me I want nobody to see because I go into direct hiding. It's almost like COVID autistic style. I tend to ask favors of my friends during that time because I cannot function within society because of it. When I go through one of those meltdowns, what can I say about them? Because I have social anxiety, enclosed spaces scare me. And nowadays you have to use a mask when you're at any hairdresser or dentist or whatever. And that sets off my issues because I hate being in small rooms that are full of people. As a matter of fact, I hate being in front of people. I'm amazed that I could do the town hall when I did last February. I don't like big crowds. As a matter of fact, I avoid them like the plague. Because of my social anxiety, it depends on what environments caused it. And for me, it has to do with several events in conjunction of the other that makes it the way it was. And for me, that day I had gone to my hairdresser and noticed the hairdo that put me where I was. And it's a very emotional, dark place for which there is no escape. It is every negative feeling that a person could possibly feel all at once, and it's like a dark room with the walls caving in on you. There is no escape, and the walls are coming in at you very fast. They're invisible walls. It is emotional. It is mental. It is literally a mental breakdown of all faculties. And it's extreme fight or flight. I hate wearing a mask because of my sensory overloads. I hate COVID because of my sensory overloads. And yes, COVID has made me extremely sensitive as a person with autism and ADHD. I'm pretty sure some of you with issues similar to mine or have other cognitive aspects for which deals in this sector know that those feelings. They're really hard to communicate or get across as to how it affects a person because it takes all the energy out of you. And it is very emotionally draining. It takes all your energy out of you. Like something that is sucking the life out of you. Literally. The next day, after you have calmed down and you have told someone you trust, for me that was my husband and the hairdresser that I deal with, because she's an absolute fantastic lady that deals with people like me often. About what had happened. And it is a very fragile moment when you open up, because you don't know how to deal with those feelings. You don't know how to convey them because you're in that vulnerable spot where, how do you explain 17 emotions coming at you all at once? How do you explain mental breakdown? How do you explain meltdown? How do you explain physical and mental fatigue? How do you explain all of that. Because there's no one word or feeling or experience that can come close to describing it. Unless if you've actually been through something like that, no one can put it to words, no one can imagine it. No one can really put it to example, because there is no way to really explain it. And I have a hard time trying to tell people how I feel when I'm in there. Because you want to lash out, you're frustrated, you're scared, you're angry, you're everything except happy. And you don't know what to do. But if you know damn well you need to tell someone about it, otherwise it's going to fester and make you cry, and more mental breakdown is going to happen. But when you climb out of that mode, sometimes I get a headache. And though you have your energy coming back and you're coming back to becoming yourself, you kind of go into a self-realization mode of deep thought, reflection, and calming. That's the other side of meltdown. And a lot of autistics will explain that to you. You're not really happy, you're not really sad, you're kind of in between, and you're not depressed at all. You're happy you told somebody, you're happy your friends support you, you're happy that you have support. And yes, with meltdowns, there's a lot of crying for me, for sure. It's not really depression, because I don't know what depression feels like. I don't know how to explain depression because I've never had it. I can explain a meltdown, because I know what that feels like. Because it's not the kind of meltdown where I want to do self-harm, because it is already causing harm for me mentally and physically. It's like, how many commands can you give an old computer for which works slow already, and doesn't reboot as fast as some people think it should? And you don't know what to do with yourself, really. You don't. Because you can't think, you can't do, you can't function, you can't, yeah. There's a lot of can'ts in there because you can't. It's physically, mentally exhausting, debilitating, scary. Yeah. And on the other side, it's still scary, but you don't cry because you're coming out of it. It's on the calming side of things where you get to regroup yourself. You get to kind of come back into what you were, only better, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to explain something that is probably totally alien to you guys. And it's hard for me to explain it. Honestly, it is. And a lot of people, that's half the reason why a lot of people misunderstand or misinterpret how a person is, if they should have a meltdown or mental breakdown. For me, it's a mental and physical breakdown. It's debilitating because afterwards I also get a migraine very quickly, and that's because all my energy has just been sucked out of me for for a couple of days. And it takes everything in your goddamn power just to do the basic things like get up and get a coffee. The simplest things that we all take advantage of and take for granted are the hardest tasks when you're coming out of a meltdown. And today, the simplest task for me was just that. And you're still mentally fogged, but you're able to do better. And it takes a lot for me to do a video like this. As you can probably tell, I'm looking at other things because I'm uncomfortable at looking at the camera due to the sensory overload for which I just experienced over the last few days. Generally, it takes a lot of environmental and or sensory related information that goes into my brain. And when you have too much, too fast, too soon, it is very, very fast on the concerns of onset of meltdown. And I was feeling it that morning. What was the overload was having to put that bloody mask on and sit in the hairdressers with that mask on as she did my hair, because I just wanted to get in, get it done, get it over, and then go for a walk. And right in the middle of the mall while my husband was getting his done, I sat down and started to cry. Luckily, the mall was very quiet, as Bonnie Doon usually is, and I cried. That's my release. The next part of my release when it comes to self-healing is telling somebody what I have been going through, because when you face those kinds of things, you don't know how to tell people, you don't know how to explain it, you don't know what to do about it other than cry or absorb the information. And for me that day, it was too hard to absorb the simplest things because of what happened. And I wanted you guys to know that side of me. I wanted you guys to see what those kinds of things will do to a person like me. And it's different for every autistic. I cannot speak on what meltdowns do to other autistics. I can speak on terms of what meltdowns do for me and how they affect me and what it looks like. Because I really wanted to hammer down what a meltdown looks like. I wanted people to see that. Because it's not pretty. Can you imagine how I feel on the inside? What you saw was the outside of meltdown. Imagine the emotional turmoil and the physical turmoil that I was doing, because it takes all my energy to do what I need to do. Now, this morning I did wake up with a migraine that came from the fact that all my energy was sucked out of me and I needed to eat. And I didn't have the energy to cook anything or put anything together, so I had to ask my husband to go to Tim Hortons this morning so that I could feel better and feel human. That's a part of my self-care. That's what I do. The next part, I try and do things like this, and I share a little piece of myself that is of very personal nature to those I trust. a good lot of you I do trust. And sometimes I might share a talent, which I'm hoping it's okay, even though this is my rule of political nature. In a way, it's also a way for us to teach each other about our issues and how we can address each other when we're having a difficult time. Some of us are very self-aware as to how our individuality affects how we operate, and sometimes it's good to have a friend to know how to address you when you're in a meltdown or in a mental breakdown, or simply having there's a lawnmower in the background that's distracting me and having mental or physical difficulties. And that support is very needed at our weakest or most vulnerable moments, because we need friends in our life when our significant others are not around, because we're vulnerable, we're weak. And I'm going to tell you that, yes, I'm vulnerable and I'm weak. I'm only human. And that means that if I trust all of you in this group with this side of me, then maybe some of you would come out of your shells and share with me on how to help you in your time of need when you need it most. So I'm going to share with you, because a part of my healing has to do with social interaction and the human face-to-face component, not necessarily hugging, because I know some autistics don't like being hugged. I don't, especially when I'm having meltdown issues, unless you're very close to me. And that's even rare for those that are close to me. My husband even knows not to touch me when I'm in that phase, unless if it's the calming motion that I taught him, which is basically, if I trust somebody enough, like my husband, I would let them touch me between the shoulder blades, and they would do slow round circles between my shoulder blades. There's a calming aspect to it for me. I don't know what your guys' talent tactics are when it comes to wanting to calm down. And for me, that is one of the first steps one would do if they saw that I was uncomfortable or in crisis. So now I'm going to deviate from that, and I am now going to share a poem with you that I wrote years ago when I had to deal with bullying in my school. And I think this should ring true for all of us, because it is very important that maybe we should share our talents and how we deal with our inner selves, so that friends know how to help you. For me, it requires face-to-face interactions with those that I would call friends, as in my inner circles. And I made this group so that people could become my inner circle, and we would know our boundaries and our wants, our needs, and how to interact with us. Because sometimes when we know this, we know how to help each other. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me right now. So I'm gonna share this poem that I wrote a long time ago because of bullies when I was growing up. The poem is called Let Me Be Me, and I hope you guys like it, because as you've noticed, these little 20-year-olds who think that people should bow down to what their normal is when they have no life experience whatsoever. They may live on their own, but how long have they actually lived on their own? Have they had 30 or at least 10 to 20 years of being on their own? Most of them lived very privileged, very sheltered lives and have no clue what real, tough love and reality is all about. As a matter of fact, no person does, even the ones that know about reality, until they're at least 30. And as far as I'm concerned, these little girls have no social skills whatsoever. And those that have social skills issues have more social skills and mentality skills than these little girls that are radicals, the ones that bullied me. Because these kinds of people like to force their beliefs and how they see things on people who do not see their way. And frankly, I find that disgusting. Or at least, that's how I feel. So, here's the poem. It's called Let Me Be Me. My world, my reality, my dream, my feeling, don't change me. Accept me for me. For who I am is not what I wear. Let me live, let me be. Let me grow, let me learn. I am a friend if you let me. Accept me for me. I have a brain, let me use it. Accept me for me. My world, my reality, my dream, my feeling. I am different, I am strong. I can fight, I will stand up for my rights. Accept me for me. My right to live, my right to dream, my right to feel, my right to fight. So let me live, let me learn, let me grow, let me be me. And accept me for me. I hope you like it. Thanks.